This video is made possible by Blinkist. The first 100 people to go to Blinkist.com/VisualPolitik are going to get unlimited access for 1 week to try it out. You'll also get 25% off if you want the full membership. More about that later, but for now, let's get on with it, shall we? Dubai is a very different place from any other place in the Persian Gulf. Its economy isn't based on oil, on natural gas, or any other raw material, but instead mainly on tourism, transport, trade, and finance. But despite not being rich in natural resources in the last 4 decades, Dubai became one of the most prosperous cities in history. Since the first towers began to emerge in the desert, this city's growth has been non-stop. The tallest building in the world, the largest shopping mall, the largest airport, the most luxurious hotel. You can find everything here. And we could say that this city is made by and for money. Everything, absolutely everything in this enclave is shaped by the money flowing into and out of it. However, 2018 hasn't exactly been the Emirates' happiest year. In the last 12 months, the Dubai stock market has plummeted by almost 25%. New business licenses have decreased, and for the first time ever, employment has also fallen.
Look, we have to plan for the worst.
Today, more and more analysts are wondering whether Dubai is about to undergo a huge crisis. And this precisely is the main question today, and that is Dubai losing its shine. Well, listen up.
Signs and shadows.
While much of the Arab world is facing a great deal of chaos, economic crises, political crises, violence, Dubai is very busy developing 3D printers, theme parks, air taxi services, and even working to send a probe to Mars within just 3 years. But, as I was saying, 2018 hasn't been a very good year. Look, even though more than 90% of Dubai's population is foreign, schools for expatriates are closing or losing students, and moving companies are showing one clear trend. More people are leaving than arriving. And although the construction pace is still in full swing, it's becoming increasingly clear that many of these new buildings are half empty. Apartments, offices, hotels, shopping centers. Obtaining official statistics is not easy, but what happens when there's more supply than there is demand? Well, prices drop, and that's exactly what is happening. And not only that, Emaar Properties stocks, the company that built the Burj Khalifa, and those of lots of other large developers listed on the Dubai Stock Exchange, have suffered a collapse of almost 40% in the last year alone. Want more? Well, DXB Entertainment, the company that owns most of the theme parks that have opened in Dubai in recent years, such as Legoland Dubai, Motion Gate, and Bollywood Park, is negotiating with banks to restructure more than $1 billion in debt, simply because the number of visitors is much lower than expected. So you can probably see now that it's not exactly time to celebrate. And so the question we can now ask ourselves here on VisualPolitik is, well, what the is happening? We got to ask, why is Dubai facing this possible crisis? And is this the end of the emirate that has broken every Middle Eastern mold? Well, let's see.
The storm.
Dubai is facing a completely new scenario. In this case, the origin of the problem may lie far beyond its ruler's competence. Allow me to explain. Dubai is perhaps the most famous emirate in the United Arab Emirates, but it's Abu Dhabi that has the oil, the money, and the power. In fact, even though Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid governs Dubai, it's this man here, Mohammed bin Zayed, the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, who de facto rules all the United Arab Emirates. Well, the key to Dubai's huge success was becoming something like the Switzerland of the Middle East, the freest space, the most legally secure, and the most open to the rest of the planet. And of course, yes, they absolutely had low taxes. However, now some of these things are starting to be questioned. In the last 2 to 3 years, the United Arab Emirates government has adopted a very active foreign policy. Prince Mohammed bin Zayed has completely aligned himself with Saudi Prince Mohammed bin Salman, specifically on 2 fronts: Qatar and Iran. Check this out. On the one hand, both countries have led the blockade against Qatar, a country that has very close ties with Dubai. In fact, many international companies settled in Dubai and their executives traveled to and from Doha. And Jebel Ali, Dubai's great port, was also Qatar's most important supply center. Now, well, that's all over. With the blockade, the UAE ordered all Qatari citizens to leave the country. Most flights were suspended and freight traffic was interrupted. Now Qatar is directly provisioned by or through Amman, but no longer through Jebel Ali. With the blockade, Dubai has lost a very important commercial partner. In addition to all of this, many companies and investors have noticed that legal security and maneuverability weren't as strong as they previously thought because, as you can see, Dubai ultimately depends on decisions made in Abu Dhabi. But that's not all. Dubai also has very important relations with Iran. In fact, thanks to its proximity, Dubai became something of an escape route, a place for many Iranian leaders and entrepreneurs to stay for a few days, have some fun, and spend some money. And not only that, every year their commercial business transactions with Iran surpassed $20 billion. But now, because of US sanctions and the growing diplomatic conflict between Riyadh and Tehran, this trade is shrinking by leaps and bounds. The ships that used to send goods every week, they now go once a month. In other words, in just over a year, Dubai has lost 2 of its largest trading partners due to decisions made in Abu Dhabi. And do you think that's all? Well, it's absolutely not. Just as Dubai became sort of a playground and second safe zone for Iranians, the same thing happened with Saudi citizens and businessmen. Of course, given all the restrictions that Saudi Arabia has for the Saudis, Dubai is an oasis of freedom and safety. Well, when the Saudi prince Mohammed bin Salman unleashed his war against corruption, or a move to consolidate his power rather, and locked up or kidnapped dozens of Saudi businessmen and senior officials, the Arab Emirates Central Bank demanded all banks operating in the country to give Riyadh all the information they had on the detainees' accounts. And they delivered all this information even when they hadn't been charged. Information, of course, Riyadh used to get the money from all those businessmen who then had to buy their freedom with their checkbooks. That way, the Saudi businessmen who thought that Dubai was the true Switzerland of the Middle East realized that this wasn't really the case. Yes, in Dubai there's legal security and your savings are safe, but not the information with which the autocratic Saudi government can extort you. So you're probably beginning to see where the problem is. Well, due to these reasons and others, the Dubai financial industry is also suffering. But oh no, we haven't yet reached the end of this list. The headaches, they don't simply stop here. The dropping oil prices in recent years have affected the purchasing power of many of the people who spend their money in Dubai. A lower oil price means less income, and that, as we've seen here on VisualPolitik, has meant that some countries like Saudi Arabia have to make many cuts. And finally, there's another factor that depends on Dubai itself. In a certain way, the city runs the risk of becoming a victim of its own success. And yes, you heard that right. Thanks to Dubai's huge success, its prices have skyrocketed, especially when it comes to real estate. And yeah, Dubai does have very low taxes, but the state gets many resources through building licenses, which hasn't helped either. If to all of this we add the fact that many Middle Eastern countries, to reduce their dependence on oil, have launched plans to copy this city by giving many advantages to their investors, the result is that Dubai has lost its appeal to international companies in recent years. Anyway, as you now see, these are the roots of the problem. Abu Dhabi, Qatar, Iran, and the cost of its own success, they've all decreased this emirate city's attractive oasis status. But what many of you might be wondering is, well, what now? So listen up.
Perspectives.
Even though its economy is expected to grow by just over 2% in 2019, as you can see, Dubai isn't going through the best of times. But hold on a second, because this doesn't mean everything's lost. Not at all. In spite of everything, this city emirate continues to be an oasis in the desert, and its government seems to have a clear idea of the keys to its success. Therefore, what Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid's government is doing now is trying to make Dubai's economy even more competitive with its neighbors. To do so, they're making it easier to obtain a visa, they're ensuring that expatriates who lose their jobs have an easier time staying, and they're decreasing the obstacles of foreign business owners outside of the special economic zones. In other words, they want to connect Dubai even more with the rest of the world. In fact, local authorities have high hopes for the arrival of Chinese investors.
This is a market cycle that we have to accept. The government is doing what it did in past slumps, sitting down with business to figure out solutions. Fahad Al-Gargawi, head of the investment agency Dubai FDI. When the upturn does arrive, Dubai's companies will emerge leaner and more competitive. Khatija Haq, head of regional research at local lender Emirates NBD.
Folks, this is what is happening in this city-state that has had such a positive impact on the Middle East. Yes, in Dubai, a lot of unfortunate things may be reported, but opening up to the world has been a breath of fresh air for one of the most hostile areas on the planet in terms of human rights. In Dubai, not only can you drink alcohol, eat pork, and pray at a Catholic church, now you can even go to a synagogue and eat kosher food. Yep. Again, you really did hear that right.
As the Gulf warms up to Israel, a synagogue grows in Dubai.
Anyway, only the future will be able to tell if this city-state's frenetic growth pace will continue, or if instead Dubai is doomed to suffer a huge crisis and lose its shine. So far, the party continues.
A Dubai company will build the largest sports shopping center in the world.
So I hope you enjoyed that video, and as I said at the beginning, this one was made possible by Blinkist. Now, do you manage to read all of the books you want? Do you manage to get all of that knowledge in your head? Probably not, right? I mean, everyone seems busier than ever. It seems like there's hardly time to spend learning. It's much easier just to click on that other tempting video over there on the right about some nonsense or other. Now, you might not think that you have a ton of time to read, but the good news is that even if you don't, you can use Blinkist. Blinkist is an app that takes the best insights and need-to-know information from thousands of non-fiction books and condenses them into 15 minutes, which you can either read or listen to. They've got a huge library and 8 million users. I think I'm actually probably the ideal Blinkist customer. I spend a lot of time working and far less time learning than I should, and I often plug into the audio versions and listen to them while I'm unloading the dishwasher and boring tasks like that. Listen, they've got tons of popular titles like The 4-Hour Workweek from Tim Ferriss, but they've also got stuff you guys probably really be into, lots of political stuff, and like I often say on this channel, let's take a look back at the history. They've got books condensed like The Silk Roads by Peter Frankopan. The first 100 people to go to Blinkist.com/VisualPolitik are going to get unlimited access for 1 week to try it out. You'll also get 25% off if you want the full membership. Move fast, grab one of those now and get started on one of those political history books. The 7-day trial is completely free. You can cancel it at any time during that trial if you're not into it, but you will be. And as always, thank you for watching.